Alright, welcome back to another episode of Bellwright. So this one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to go over a few mods that I think aren't too over the top, won't completely break the immersion of the game. But, maybe some quality of life, some not so much. But as you can see, one of the first ones we are going to go over, it's called Haul Ass Speed Walk. So this one is, I don't want to say it's necessary or unnecessary. I always thought it was strange that they would just casually walk, like barely at all, to get stuff done. Especially with the fact that we are constantly dealing with bandits and reclamation parties now and so on and so forth. I would have thought, they would have been a bit more interested to get things done. This just allows them to kind of jog around getting stuff done. And to be honest, yeah, it doubles work production, and maybe that's not how the game intended it to go. But it still, in my opinion, kind of makes sense that they're, they got a little pep in their step to try to get stuff done, all of the descriptions and links to all of these will be in the description for the video. But this one I found quite useful. Like I said, it's called Haul Ass Speed Walk. So they're going just a teeny bit faster, and it does boost production quite a bit. It doesn't speed up their work; it just makes it to where they can get to that work quicker. And especially like hunting and things like that, I think that, it makes sense. That's just me, though. The next one I am going to go over is called Joe W. Bellwright Quivers. So, basically what it means is your quiver can hold more sets of arrows. I'm pretty sure you can have different types of arrows in there, and it'll just go through the first set that you make available. Alright, so and you can swap them around. To be honest, I don't think this is immersion breaking at all. There are a lot of quivers that can hold more than just 30 arrows. Now, 6 may be excessive. You can choose to use or not use each of these slots as you would like, because when you first take the arrows or loot them out of a container, they go straight to your regular inventory and not into your cloth quiver. This just makes it a bit more convenient to carry more arrows. There are plenty of times where I'm going from site to site where while I'm using just straight simple arrows, I have to play hit and run tactics, especially in the lower levels, and I run out of arrows before I've killed like 3 or 4 people, just because I'm trying to hit them, and they bob their heads, they move around. And I think that the ability to hold more arrows without cluttering up your inventory just makes sense. That's just me, though. So that's a second mod. Another mod that I am going to go over involves, let's just say, food spoilage. Now, it's hard to demonstrate, but what I will say is, as you can see, I have a mod on right now that you don't see a little bar on here, right? That's because these foods are not going to spoil. They will stay good forever. There is a variation to this mod, and this mod is called Longer Food Duration. You can get one without the spoilage. It just makes them last longer. You don't have to take the mod with the no spoil aspect of it. But this, to me, the problem I had with food is it was spoiling faster than I personally thought it should. Now, you don't have to have one where it doesn't spoil at all. But I just wish the food would last a little bit longer. Like when I was going into the barn where I'd have all the food, as you can see, this stuff is kind of... Whoa, what happened to the spoiled food? Did you just take it?
News from the kingdom? There's
It doesn't
always
matter.
something.
But like this food right here, if I were to take one... Oh, that's not what I meant to do. But they're all at that level, but they're not dropping. But prior to the mod, they were spoiling well before a day was out. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was just my perception because we were going through so much food. But yeah, it was difficult to gauge. All right, so do I need to farm more? Do I need to go buy more? It made stocking up on food harder. It also made keeping food around harder. At one point, I'm pretty sure I could have filled... why is there burnt meat? Doesn't matter. I could have filled 20 compost piles just with spoiled food like a week. In-game week, obviously. And it was just annoying, I guess. Annoying is the right word to use. Now, it is a part of a survival game. You got to manage some of those things. But it would be different if I was just managing myself and maybe a couple other people. But as you get farther into the game, you're managing, you know, tens. I've even seen people with playthroughs where they've gotten up to 100 followers. That is a lot of potential spoiled food that you have to micromanage. That makes the game really, really tedious. And we don't want games like this to be tedious, right? I wouldn't. And so it's just one of those, let's just call it quality of life additions. We'll call it quality of life additions. But we are going to go on to our final mod for this video, and I have to get a pickaxe for that because it does involve mining. Alright, so we are here at a tin rock with a simple pickaxe, and we're gonna mine. Oop, well, we gotta get closer apparently. As you can see, got ore. Just happened to get multiple pieces of ore. But every time, I'm gonna get an ore. So that is, of course the raid's incoming now. That is ore every time. Now, gonna kind of change how resources work in the game, but it's going to make it a bit easier to maintain production levels of things like armor, weapons, tools, and so on. Now I know what you're thinking. Kind of cheap, right? I can understand that thought process. Kind of cheap. What I will say for that, though, is in a lot of games, mechanics for mining or getting wood or things like that, normally you will mine something like 3 times and get ore. Then you'll mine it 3 times again and you'll get ore. You'll mine it 3 times again and get ore. I have been through like maybe a third of an entire pickaxe where I didn't get a single ore in mining in this game, and I'm not going to say that's annoying, and I'm not going to say that's not what they intended with the mechanic, but it's frustrating, and again we go back to that word tedious. The last thing I want to do is get maybe 10 pieces of ore when I have to spend at least 1, but normally 2 because it requires bronze, which means 1 tin and 1 copper, just to get 1 tool. Now, in some games, an 8-to-1 ratio to get a resources is a good enough trade. But for me, it seemed like I was spending, like I could go an entire night, everyone goes to sleep, and I just go mine 10 over there. I could be there all night and only barely get a full inventory all night and go through almost an entire pickaxe. And that just doesn't seem correct. And so I wish there was a mod that said like every 2 or 3 hits you automatic get a 10, or just an ore. But in this case, it's, you know, you're gonna, every single time you're gonna get an ore. It's not gonna be RNG where you could hit it 15 times before you get an ore. Debatable as to whether or not you think that's kind of cheating or cheap or whatever, but that is going to do it for this mod episode. I will make another mod episode where I go over kind of the more questionable or more cheaty type of mods. Just depends on how you like your playthrough. To be perfectly honest, I like to play the games and have fun. Sometimes there are aspects of games that just aren't fun, and of course this is still in development, so who knows, maybe some of these mods will be what the game creators intend and go, oh yeah, we really need to do something like that. But in this case, you know, I went over some of the more, let's just say they are easier to accept mods to be more quality of life. The next video that I will put out on mods will be less quality of life and more, I just want to blaze through the game with no problems. But either way, that's going to do it for this episode. Like and subscribe for more content, and as always, I will see you in the next video.